Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for August 17th. Okay, so we got through the weekend. I want to take a look at the energy surrounding Trump as we go forward this week. So I guess, the 16th to the 22nd sort of inclusive. So when I've started to tap into the energies, I have to tell you the most sort of first reaction I had was, oh boy. So let's take a look at what's causing the oh boy. You've got a couple of things that are really, I think, going to be setting him off this week. So one is the death of his brother. Now, I don't think that Trump actually grieves maybe the way most people perceive grieving, okay? So in fact, it feels as if the loss he feels, any loss he feels, is really more about how this is going to mess up his campaign, his reelection. That's going to be one person who's not there that he at least, feels is loyal and he can count on. So that's kind of the perception. It's not really about the fact that his brother was sick and suffered and passed into the light. It was about the fact that this is an inconvenience for him. Certainly that's the way the energy feels. And of course, the other thing that's going to set him off this week is, there's two other things. One is the House under Nancy Pelosi is very likely to be called back so that they can deal with the United States Postal Service. He's not going to like that. That whole situation is not going well for him. It is blowing up and backfiring. And I warned you that would happen, so I guess you're probably not surprised. And of course, the third thing is the DNC convention. It's going to be a volatile week, people. Oopsie. Hold on, I got cards flying. Hang on. Okay, so for those of you who watch this channel, you know that the Ace of Wands is a powerful card about communications, about messages that are getting through or not getting through. So that's going to be, well, I guess we'll watch and see how that unfolds. All right, so let's focus in on Donald Trump for the week of August 16th to 22nd. Hope you all had a good weekend. Thank you very much for coming back to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. I'm delighted you're here. To all of my new subscribers, thank you so much. For my established ones, your support is just amazing, and I am very much appreciative of it. And of course, for donations, thank you so much. And private readings, the information is in the box below. Okay, let's focus in on the Donald, shall we? Come on down, I have a question. I have my hunk of smoky quartz sitting here because, Here we go. Trump this week, Trump this week, Trump this week. Okay, so we've got the Knight of Cups sitting on the bottom. It didn't want to join the rest of the cards, so we'll see what that's about in a bit, I'm sure. Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, so as this week unfolds, he's going to have a lot to say. And he's going to think that he's being very witty and very clever and very strong. And that's just kind of what he's going to tell himself, okay? So this isn't really about him being fully engaged in the here and now. as much as he is fully engaged in figuring out a way to look away from what he doesn't want to look at and look at or focus on what he does want to look at. And there's a couple things he really wants to look at. He really wants to look at money coming to him. He wants to look at what's going on behind the scenes. He wants to find out who's supporting him, who isn't, where the money's coming from, where the money's going, okay? This week is about him. Make no mistake, it is absolutely about him. I'm not quite sure why the energy is coming together that way, whether it's, astrological or whether it's just his crazy energy. But this very much feels like this is a week about him. And part of the reason is because he feels as if he is fading into insignificance almost. So if you turn on, the television, you're going to hear probably more about Trump than you are about Joe Biden. However, the difference is that what is coming out of the Biden camp is well thought out. It's presented professionally. You have people who know what they're talking about. They have plans, they have ideas, they have a way forward. All of the things that he is completely incapable of harnessing and using to his advantage. So he is very definitely getting the feeling that the more he tries to push forward, and in some ways almost the more he tries to change the subject, the more he finds himself sort of stopped. And it's really creating some significant agitation with him because he wants things to go the way he wants them to go, especially when it comes to his message, his money, his fundraising, his donors, all of it. He wants all of it in his control. And I would go so far as to say that there's probably been a little bit of significant temper going on behind the scenes where he is really decided to bully his way forward, push his way forward, even though there doesn't seem to be any underlying structure or foundation that can actually support that forward movement. He really does recognize that an end is coming. And he keeps getting these offers or ideas or even suggestions from people about, maybe you should consider taking this opportunity, or maybe you might want to consider, backing off or backing down. No, this is the week where he doubles down, triples down, quadruples down. He doesn't like the judgment coming at him. He doesn't like the attention being deflected. So he more and more is having to really recognize and accept or face the facts that this could really be a one-term presidency. And not only that, but that he's going out as a complete and utter failure, except, of course, with that tiny little core group of people who think he is, brilliant for reasons I swear nobody can understand. So he's not going to like the judgment that's coming down, and so you can anticipate some volatility in him, and you can anticipate, what he usually does, right? Let's throw something out there to distract. So yesterday, for example, there was a lot of talk about, let's get Putin and Trump together before the election. And everybody's hair goes on fire and everybody starts carrying on and talking about that. It's not going to happen. This is a distraction. This is a way to move the energy away from whatever else is going on that he doesn't like. And what else is going on that he doesn't like at this moment in particular is the Biden-Harris enthusiasm, excitement. They're doing really great raising money. He's losing donors. They're getting a lot of really fabulous press, and him not so much. So you can really see where the kind of that internal combustion just really feels like it's ramping up and ramping up. And at some point, there's going to be an explosion. And for me, it feels like as we get towards the end of this week and into the next, you could really see some more of his classic, erratic behavior. There'll be a lot of talk about the stimulus package and why it's not getting done, and people suffering and people not having what they're needing. And the Republicans are trying to attack the Democrats, and it is not working for them. It's not working at all for them. But it looks to me like they're going to spend some time this week really trying to push back and blame the Democrats, and that's not going to work because the Democrats, and certainly under Nancy Pelosi, are going to be very busy getting their butts back to where they need to get them so that they can get moving on things that actually need to get done. So, and let us not forget that investigation into that postmaster, that is also going to be really, really ramping up, and it's not going to be the win that they thought. So this is the arrogance of these people. Oh, well, we'll just remove half of the mailboxes from any given town or city or state, and then people can't vote. That'll work great. And the arrogance was that they actually thought no one would notice. And they actually thought if they did notice, they would, just adapt and ignore it. And there would be a bit of a tempest in a teapot, but then it would all settle down. It was an incredible miscalculation. But again, it's miscalculations by people who do not understand the energy, the fabric of your country. They don't understand what the Constitution means and why it's an important document. Like, they really don't. They don't understand why the U.S. Postal Service is an intricate part of the fabric of the country. So they just thought that they could take it and just tear it and it would be all okay, but it's not going to be all okay. And Trump is ultimately going to be the one who is really, really going to, again, come under more criticism. And the more he pulls this, I will back off on the post office if you give me what I want, the worse it's going to look and the worse it's going to be. And frankly, it doesn't even sound as if he has the support of his own Republicans pulling that nonsense. But, this is what Trump does, right? When there's that ace of wands that wanted to jump up. Okay, very interesting. All right. So when he doesn't like what's going on, when he doesn't like the narrative, he's just going to start moving forward, pushing forward, trying to accomplish what he has in mind or how he wants to divert or direct attention. The problem is, and as you probably know, this is becoming very much my card for Kamala Harris. Okay, this is my vice president card. So she's going to be doing a lot of talking and she's going to be getting a lot of press this week. And that is going to just send him, because you know what? He has such thin skin. It is like translucent. And he can't take the continual attacks, especially from a well-spoken, intelligent female who will not back down. And so he's going to continue trying to push forward. And honestly, the more he does, the more it's not going to be a really good fit for him, right? His communications are not going to look fluid and intelligent. They're going to look desperate and a little crazed. And he's going to be surrounded in the news by clips of Biden and Harris and, people supporting them and talking about how wonderful the things they have in the works are going to be. And that diminishes him. And so how does he stop trying to feel diminished? Well, he causes a ruckus and he causes a fuss. So the combination of the pushback on the post office is going to continue until it almost collapses in on itself, until there's not a way for them to maneuver or wiggle. And that they're going to just sort of start backing away from all of it. All of a sudden they're talking about, machines aren't going to be moved or decommissioned and this and that. They're pulling back because the pushback is too significant. And again, these people are so politically unaware that they're only focused on, and I'm seeing Jared Kushner in my face right now, so I'm sure he had a really big role in this. they're so concerned about preventing people from voting in a fair and free election against this wannabe dictator that they didn't think about the collateral damage, which is, whoa, buddy, a whole bunch of your Republican voters are not going to get their prescriptions. They're not going to get their mail. They're not going to get their checks. What are you thinking? But again, they only focus on one thing. They look at it and they shoot, down the track with that, and they just don't even consider everything that's going to start flying as a result of it. And of course, that's where they get it into their biggest trouble, right? Because everything is of the moment. What can I say of the moment to get me out of here? And let me tell you, they are really, really having a heck of a time trying to get their messaging down. They're getting pressure from outside of the country, I'll say it that way. There is a lot of fighting and scrapping going on behind the scenes and around Trump. And this is the thing, normally he really enjoys that really combative energy around him, right? He loves to pit people against each other and kind of see what happens. This is the problem. As the pressure ticks up, he's actually going to have less of an ability to process what he sees and hears. And so what happens is, instead of it sort of filling him with this quiet thrill, that he has the power to get these two opposing forces just battering at each other, he's going to start getting I almost want to say confused, right? He's not quite going to recognize who's really on his side and honestly who's just got their own agenda going forward, but he thinks it's his agenda. There's just going to be a lot of, it feels scrambled to me, just scrambled. More information coming about his legacy, about his money, about funds. And I suspect that somewhere along the way, it would not be surprising if his brother's cause of death is released. I'm not getting it, and honestly, I'm not asking. If it gets released, that's one thing. So, but there's definitely sort of it's just simply an inability to kind of find any stable ground around him. And of course, that makes him all the more volatile. You have people around him who are in their own crazy way genuinely trying to settle him down and calm him down, but they too are coming to realize that absolutely, he's almost unreachable. It's almost like there's nothing you can say or do to get him to throttle back. So everything is full steam ahead with him. There may be more conversations about the Michael Cohen book, which is just, again, another thing that's just going to ratchet up his anxiety level, his anger level. Honestly, I got to say, the people who are behind the scenes at the White House, they honestly might want to consider taking out a danger pay insurance or something, because the volatility is going to be singeing. And the more people get more and more excited about Biden and Harris, the more all the energy starts flowing towards them, the more wound up he's going to get, because again, he knows his heart is going to break. And again, so interesting. The 3 and 4 of Swords are showing up now every single reading, as near as I can remember and figure. So you have the Sun. And around the Sun, you have the heartbreak. And you have people abandoning him. People walking away from him, just literally dropping their affiliation. And he, meanwhile, he thinks he's winning. He thinks that by, yelling at, what was his name, Adelson, the guy in Las Vegas, the really, really big donor, by yelling at him and making demands that he's appearing strong and tough, he's not appearing strong and tough at all. He is really upsetting, you know, those that he really should be depending on. There's going to be more and more volatility. And the more he tries to stabilize and the more he tries to get on message, the worse it's going to be. His brain feels like a hamster on those wheels. It's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning. It's really not latching on to anything. And there is some awareness that really the only way for him to get the spinning to stop is to sort of jump off the wheel. But he can't jump off the wheel because he's hanging onto that wheel with death grip, because he understands that what happens when he lets go of the wheel and falls off is not going to be not only pretty, certainly not the ingredients of a successful re-election campaign, but more, it's going to simply diminish him. And that's something, you know, beyond him, right? Yeah. You know, people are starting to have more clarity about the decisions they're going to be making and why they're going to be making them come election. And so the poll numbers are going to get worse for him, and they're going to start getting really worse for down ballot. And this is the thing. There's just, they're running out of time. What are we, 70 something days away? They're running out of time to be able to reverse things. And this is the problem, you know, they say, well, people have short attention spans or short memories. Well, they do have short memories. But the thing is when the damage he has done is not a memory to you, but an actual current reality. You are in this place in this time because of what he has done, because he could not handle COVID, because he couldn't get there, you know, he couldn't pull together and get his Republicans to create a stimulus package that would work for all of Congress. So the things that he is going to try to spin away from, the very topic is actually one of the things that makes him look so bad and so ineffective and frankly so dangerous. So, you know, this is going to be a tough week. Okay, buckle up. I don't know, you know, take some extra vitamins or something. But this is going to be tough because he's got sort of too much on his plate, if you will, that kind of is rocking him a little bit, right? So he has the whole, you know, situation with his brother and his family, right? So there's a funeral, I suppose, that he's going to need to attend and you know, deal with. He's got the convention. He's got the post office. He's got the stimulus package. And he's got an internal wall of fear that is building and building and building. So, I want to just drill down a wee little bit and see if I can perhaps get a bit more of a handle on what's actually going on behind the scenes. So let's just take a look. And see what we see. All right, going down. So we're going to take a look at activity behind the scene. So let's take a look at this how. Activity behind the scenes around Trump. Activity behind the scenes around Trump. Activity behind the scenes around Trump. Also, don't be surprised if they sort of start announcing some little mini rallies, little trips. He has to go there and do this because they need to get him out of the White House, right? He's becoming too volatile. They can't contain him, so they're going to send him out where he can get some adoration from some crowds, and they're hoping that that will settle him a bit. It's like, honestly, it really is like taking care of a toddler, and in many ways that's really an insult to toddlers. I mean, it really is. Yeah. Okay, they're seeing it falling apart. That's what's going on behind the scenes, whether this is his administration, whether this is Republicans who are up for re-election. They are literally seeing how quickly he has been able to destroy what was a promising way forward, a promising agenda, that which they had so hoped to accomplish. And make no mistake, they did a lot of damage while they were in office, but they're seeing it now coming apart. They are seeing that that there isn't a way to sort of engage him in any significant or meaningful way, so that he even sort of kind of maybe in a minuscule way looks like he might be a team player and he might be trying to help his down ballot people, or he might even be backing off of something he wants because he realized that it would be really helpful for the people who are trying to get reelected in his party. And they're recognizing finally that he doesn't care, he doesn't give a damn, it's not about them, it's all about him. And some of these people are actually trying to now figure out how to make a decision. Okay, well, so what does this look like? What does this mean? Do I publicly sort of pull away from him? There's so much stuff that is so secret. There's so much stuff that people are holding very, very close to their chest. And so for a lot of them, this is really becoming a sort of decisions of significant consequence to them, and they are not they can't figure a way to extract themselves, and yet they can't figure a way to go forward with any sort of positivity. And honestly, the fact that Republican Party is now having to deal with these QAnon people who are getting kind of chosen to, be the Republican contender, I guess, in these different races, that is not reflecting well on the Republicans. I mean, this is like sort of a David Duke, that kind of KKK. It's that kind of energy in terms of the almost instant push against it or push back against it. I will not, I'm just going to say this now, I will not be doing a reading unless on QAnon specifically. I have to tell you, I don't like their energy. It is very negative and is really, really volatile. And I'm just not going to step into that energy unless something happens and I feel I really, really need to find out what's going on. I'm not sort of going to do a reading about curiosity or interest. And let me tell you, when I say that energy is volatile and really negative, and I'm choosing to not step into it, considering I'm in Trump's energy every day, what is that telling you about this crowd? Okay, so just so you know. So they're hitting, they've got the Republicans, they've got the post office, they've got Cohen's book is coming out. They have all of this stuff, and they're really starting to recognize that this is not going to be a winning strategy for them. And they're starting to realize that they can't hang on to what they want to hang on to because there's not enough time to fix all the damage. That's just the bottom line there. And as long as things continue to spiral out of control, you have the schooling situation, you have the COVID situation, you have everything. There is nothing that you can point to that has Trump's fingerprint on it that has not in a lot of ways been a real disaster. For the Republicans. Let's not even talk about the country and what he's done to the globe. Let's just, so they're having their own, aside from the judges and some tax breaks, they're really now having to look at paying the piper, and the price the piper is demanding is pretty high, because there isn't a pot, frankly, on the Trump stove that isn't blowing up and boiling over. Yeah. So again, you have that sort of behind the scenes, things are much, much more volatile than we realize they are. He's going to be doing a lot of Trump himself is going to be behaving in a way as if he is invincible, and he's going to be talking a lot this week. He's not going to be making a lot of sense. He doesn't care. He just wants the cameras on him so he can kind of pump up his own ego. He is, oh my God, let's hope for the sake of all that Trump doesn't do any sort of eulogy about his brother, because I'm sure it'll be about how big his crowds were at the inauguration. Right, he cannot, Trump can't pivot, and the people around him are recognizing that it's horrifying enough that Trump can't pivot, but what they're starting to realize is that they can't pivot. They don't have a way of coming out from under their association and affiliation with Trump and the crazy stuff that he does. And so they are looking at having to leave. They are looking at being sidelined. They are looking at being defensive. They are starting to really recognize they're not in a good place. Is that, and is that just people who are up for re-election? No, it's not. It's for people who work in the administration and had hoping to somehow, pole vault this disastrous experience into something that would make them a shining star in the Republican Party down the road. So not going to happen. So not going to happen. Alrighty. So there we have it. So that's a bit of a peek in front of the scenes and behind the scenes with Trump this week. Buckle up, take your vitamins. It feels super volatile. It really, really does. I caution you. Do not fall into the trap of getting sucked down the disinformation rabbit holes, okay? Don't go out of your way to look at articles and news feeds, whatever it is, that has a lot of negativity around it. The Russians are ramping up at an alarming pace. So that means you have to ramp up and ensure that you are, one, not consuming and not sharing the disinformation that Russia has proven to be very effective at spreading. Okay, so please be very vigilant about that. And I'm also going to remind you, make sure you are following up on your voter registration, because again, the closer you roll to the election, the bigger the dirty tricks are going to be. So this is the time you have to start being alert, being aware, and starting to refocus in on what absolutely needs to be done to welcome in something new to the White House, okay? Thank you ever so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I thank you so much for being with me. Until next time, take care, be well, and we'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.